I'm 17F, and my dad remarried last year. His new wife, Jessica, has 3 kids, 15F, Lila, 12M, Connor, and 9F, Sophie. My parents divorced when I was 13, and it wasn't pretty. My mom lives about 2 hours away, and I split time between them. I was never super close with my dad after the divorce, mostly because he started dating Jessica pretty quickly, and honestly, I didn't know how to process that. Fast forward to now. They've been married about 10 months. I don't hate Jessica or her kids, but I also don't consider them my family. I'm civil. I try to be polite, but I don't want to be forced into this picture-perfect, blended family thing when it doesn't feel real. This is where the issue comes in. Jessica apparently had this big idea of hiring a professional photographer to take family photos, like coordinated outfits, everyone smiling in a field somewhere, that whole vibe. She pitched it as something fun and memorable. She wanted these photos to hang in the living room and send to extended family. When she brought it up at dinner, everyone else seemed on board. The younger kids were excited about picking outfits. Lila, the 15-year-old, acted like it was whatever, but nodded along. Then Jessica looked at me expectantly. I just froze. I didn't want to say yes, because it felt like pretending. Pretending we were one big happy family. Pretending I was equally connected to them. Pretending the last few years hadn't been messy. So I said, kind of cautiously, I don't think I want to be in the pictures. The whole table went silent. Jessica blinked at me like I had slapped her. My dad frowned and said, "What do you mean you don't want to be in the pictures?" I tried to explain. I didn't want to be fake. I didn't feel comfortable, and I'd rather sit it out. That's when the argument started. Jessica said it wasn't about being fake. It was about celebrating family. My dad said I was being difficult and making things awkward. Lila rolled her eyes and muttered something about me being dramatic as usual. The younger kids looked confused. I stuck to my answer, though. I said, "I'll take pictures with you, Dad, just the two of us. But I don't want to do the whole group thing." He wasn't happy with that. He said it would look bad if I wasn't in them, like I was rejecting the whole family. Jessica actually started tearing up and saying she was trying so hard to make me feel included, and this was me rejecting her kids. I didn't think it would turn into such a huge deal. The kicker? Last night, Dad pulled me aside and told me flat out that I was being selfish. That refusing to take the photos was basically me announcing to everyone that I don't accept his new family. He said it was embarrassing to explain to people why I wouldn't be in them. I asked him why I had to fake feelings for the sake of appearances. He didn't like that. Now I'm grounded for attitude. So here I am, grounded in my room, writing this, wondering if I really am the bad guy. I wasn't trying to hurt anyone. I just don't want to be forced into a smiling picture that feels like a lie. But maybe I should have just gone along with it. Maybe I'm being stubborn. The photo shoot is supposed to happen this weekend, and my dad said I will be there whether I like it or not. And the thing is, I overheard Jessica on the phone earlier telling her mom that I was trying to ruin everything, and that we'll just have to put her in the back row if she insists on sulking. So now I don't even know what to do. If I show up, I'll feel miserable and fake. If I refuse, I'll be the villain again. And here's the part that makes my stomach twist. I just got a text from my mom saying she wants to talk to me tonight because she heard about the photos. Which means Jessica or my dad already dragged her into this. My mom called right after dinner, while I was still staring at the ceiling, counting the little glow-in-the-dark stars I stuck up there when I was 10. I could hear the washing machine down the hall and the faint hum of Jessica's diffuser, eucalyptus, because calm is a choice. Sure. Hey kid, Mom said. Her voice is this mix of gentle and steel that I never appreciated until the divorce. I heard about a photo shoot. I sat up and pulled the blanket around my shoulders. So they called you. Jessica texted, she said, and I could hear her doing her slow breathing thing. A very long text. About family unity and supporting your father. Nothing about how you feel. How do you feel? I told her everything. The dinner, the silence, Dad calling me selfish, the grounding. I didn't say it like I was auditioning for sympathy. I just laid it out the way it happened. My voice got tight when I repeated the part about Jessica telling her mom she'd put me in the back if I sulked. Mom sighed. I'm sorry, honey. I don't want to be fake, I said. I'll take a picture with Dad alone. I just don't want to be part of the staged happy family thing. That sounds reasonable. A pause. For what it's worth, it's okay if you don't feel like they're your family yet. Or ever. You get to decide what that word means to you. Dad says it makes him look bad if I don't show up, I muttered. Like it's a public relations issue he has to manage. Mom was quiet for a second. Your father cares about how things look, she said carefully. More than he should. But I don't want to turn this into a tug of war. Do you want me to talk to him? He'll say you're feeding me lines, I said. He already thinks I'm taking your side. Your side is your own, she said, and her voice softened. I'll text him and ask him to ease up on the punishment. But I'm going to ask you something hard. What? If you go to the photo shoot, she said, will you be okay? Not happy. Not fake. Just okay. Can you set a boundary and stand in the back, smile the bare minimum, and leave early if it's too much? I picked at a thread on the blanket. Why would I agree to something I don't want? Because sometimes it's easier to do something small and uncomfortable than to lose the bigger battle, she said. This isn't me telling you to comply. It's me asking what matters more to you, avoiding a few staged pictures or avoiding weeks of fallout from your dad. I stared at the stars as if they were going to blink and answer back. It's not just the pictures, I said finally. It's what they stand for. I know, she said. Then here's another option. I can come get you the day of the shoot. We can go get pancakes. I'll deal with your father. He'll be angry, but you won't be alone in this. I felt my throat get hot. He'll be furious. He's already furious, she said, and I could hear the smile in her voice, the sad kind. You won't be punished at my house. Your choice, honey. After we hung up, I stared at my phone until my eyes went dry. A new text popped up, from Lila of all people. Lila, hey. Just so you know, you being weird about the photos is making Mom cry. I stared at it. 2 dots showed up like she was going to add more. Then they disappeared. I typed, deleted, typed again. Me. I'm not trying to make her cry. Lila, then just do it. It's not a big deal. Me. It is to me. Lila, everything is to you. That one stung, even though I know she doesn't know me. Or maybe she does in the way someone who watches you through a keyhole knows you. Flat and warped. I put my phone face down and opened my window a crack. The night was damp and cricket loud. I heard footsteps and braced, thinking Dad. But it was small, barefoot slaps. Sophie. She knocked once and opened my door like she knew she was supposed to, but wasn't going to wait. She had her stuffed fox tucked under one arm, its ear half torn from a laundry accident. Are you mad at us? She asked. Big eyes, big whisper. I took a breath I felt all the way down. I'm not mad at you, I said. I just don't like pictures. She nodded very seriously. I don't like pictures when my tooth is loose, she said, sticking a tiny finger at a wiggly incisor. But Mom says Grandma needs them for the calendar. The calendar? I asked. She grinned. She makes a calendar every Christmas. We're January this year. I imagined it, my face staring down from someone else's kitchen next to a bunch of people I barely know, like I got photoshopped into their months. That's nice, I said, because what else do you say to a 7-year-old with a fox? Sophie climbed onto my bed without asking, like a cat. Lila said you're dramatic, she said in a conversational tone. I gave a tiny laugh I wasn't proud of. Lila says a lot of things. She says you are sad about your mom, Sophie went on, as if reading a report. I'm sad about my old dad sometimes. She looked at the fox when she said it. But he lives far away and doesn't like flying. My chest did this strange flip, like someone wrung it out. I put my hand over hers. I get sad too, I said. Thanks for telling me. She nodded. If you don't want to stand in the front, you can stand by me, she said. I don't like standing next to Connor because he always makes faces. She made a ghoul face to demonstrate, and I laughed for real. Deal, I said, because in that moment a compromise with a 7-year-old felt easier than an ultimatum from a parent. She hopped off the bed like a tiny judge who had rendered her verdict. At the door, she turned back. You should wear the white dress. Mom said the rust dress makes your skin look tired. Something in me pinched. White it is, I said, though nobody had asked me. After she left, I almost texted Mom that I'd just do it, grit my teeth, and stand by Sophie with my white dress and my tired skin. But the image of Jessica's calendar sat wrong in my stomach, like I'd swallowed a coin. I fell asleep trying to imagine a version where everyone felt okay and came up empty. The next day at school, I told Maya, my best friend, since 6th grade, and the only person who can tell me when I'm spiraling without making me angry. We sat under the maple by the parking lot like we always do, eating cafeteria pasta that somehow tastes like cardboard and hope. Okay, she said, twirling a noodle. First, Your feelings are valid. I hate that phrase, I said, then immediately felt bad. Sorry. You hate it because people use it as a period instead of a comma, she said calmly. Your feelings are valid, comma. Now decide what you want to do with them. Option A. Take the pictures, feel gross, fight later. Option B. Don't take the pictures, feel guilty, fight now. Option C. Propose a third thing. What third thing? I asked. I already said I'd take some with my dad only. Pitch logistics, she said. Photographers like lists. Ask for separate sets. You with your dad, the step-fam alone, then you with the whole group as an optional last set. If you're done by then, like, truly done, you bow out before the group shot. It gives Jessica her happy family, gives your dad what he wants, and gives you an exit. Jessica won't go for it, I said. She wants one picture, all of us, coordinated, printed on canvas the size of a table. Write it down and send it, Maya said. People behave better when they have to respond in writing. So I went home, sat at my desk, and drafted a text that I rewrote 5 times. Me. Hi Jessica. I want to propose a plan for Sunday's photos. I'm comfortable with these combos. 1. Me plus dad. 2. You plus your kids. 3. Dad plus your kids. 4. All of you plus me as an optional last set. Only if I'm comfortable in the moment. If we do it in that order, everyone gets something. I'll be in white and on time. Please let me know if that works. I stared at it until my hands went numb, then hit send before I lost the nerve. She responded 3 minutes later, which meant she'd been waiting. Jessica, thank you for being willing to compromise. I appreciate it. I think it will be special to have all of us together, but I respect your process. Please remember that family means showing up for each other even when it's inconvenient. It was the kind of response you could read 3 ways depending on your heart rate. I read it like a threat and a pat on the head at the same time. Dad texted me separately 2 minutes later. Dad, we will talk about your optional last set. This is not a performance. I put my phone face down again. The diffuser in the hallway hummed louder, like it knew. Saturday was outfit day. Jessica laid everything out on the couch, like we were staging a catalog. White dresses for the girls, light blue shirts for Dad and Connor. Jessica in a flowy cream thing that looked expensive. Even the shoes were lined up in a row like obedient soldiers. She handed me a hanger with a white midi dress and a bag with clip-on earrings, in case you want a little sparkle, but your piercings are uneven. I went to my room to try it on. In the mirror, I looked like a stranger headed to some country club event where everyone knows the correct fork. The fabric was soft. The neckline did weird things to my collarbones. I stood there trying to decide whether I looked pretty or like I'd been pressed into a mold when Lila knocked and came in without waiting. She flopped on my bed, scrolling her phone. Mom says I have to help you with hair if you need it, she said flatly. Also here. She held out a little bottle of something. Tinted moisturizer. You look tired. I stared at the bottle like it might bite me. Thanks, I said, because it seemed easier than starting World War III over a sentence. She shrugged, kept scrolling. It's not personal, she said. Mom just wants this to be perfect because Grandma's coming. She gets bossy when Grandma's around. Grandma's coming to the shoot? I asked. I thought it was just us and the photographer. She's stopping by, Lila said. And Mom's sister, maybe. Uncle Aaron if he's not hungover. You know. Family. Something inside me wobbled. I pictured myself smiling into Jessica's mother's phone while she texts the group chat about how our oldest is finally smiling in the family. I pictured Mom seeing those pictures on Facebook, because she always does, because the algorithm loves drama. Do you ever feel like we're lying? I asked before I could stop myself. Lila looked up with this expression I couldn't read. About what? About being happy like this, I said. Like it actually looks. She watched me for a long second that felt like a dare. Then she looked down at her phone. I don't know, she said. It's not about being happy. It's about not making it harder. I wanted to ask her harder for who, but she was already up, already gone, leaving a faint trail of apple shampoo and whatever indifference smells like. That night, I went to fill my water bottle and passed the kitchen where Jessica was on the phone. She didn't see me. The hall light was off, and I was a shadow. It's the last set, but I'll get her in it, she was saying, the bright smile in her voice like she wore it even on the phone. Yes, the white one fits. No, I'm not letting her wear that rust thing. The photographer knows to put her on the end. We can crop if we need to. Silence. Then a light laugh. I'm not being mean. I'm being practical. She doesn't even look like us. Yes, I know that's the point, Linda. My hand tightened around the bottle cap until it squeaked. Anyway, she went on. Once it's printed and hung up, she'll adjust. You know how it is. You build the life, and then the feelings catch up. It's what we did with Lila. I stood there, throat tight, until I realized I was breathing too loud. I backed up one step at a time and went to my room like I was sneaking past a sleeping dog. I texted Mom, I might take you up on pancakes. She texted back a heart and 7:30. I stared at the ceiling again. Remembered Sophie's little hand. Remembered Dad saying I was selfish like he'd been rehearsing it. Plan my morning in secret because apparently we do everything in secret now. And then, because the universe has a sense of timing, a calendar event popped up on my phone. Family photos, Sunday 10 a.m., Meadow Park. Attached was a PDF from the photographer with inspiration poses and a note from Jessica that I somehow got CC'd on by accident. The note said, "Hi. So excited. Please make sure we get one of just me, D, and our three. If my name isn't cooperating, we can add her at the end. If we do full group, can we do a wide and a close, and just in case make sure I'm centered? Thank you." I closed my eyes and counted to 10. I made my choice. But the next morning at 7:31, when Mom's car pulled up and I stepped onto the porch with my bag and my white dress draped over my arm, the front door opened behind me. Dad stood there in his socks, holding his coffee mug like a gavel. "Where are you going?" he asked. My stomach dropped so fast it felt like missing a step in the dark. Because behind him, at the end of the hall, Jessica had her hand on Sophie's shoulder. And Sophie was already in her white dress. "Answer me," Dad said, quiet in that way that's worse than shouting. I clutched the dress. "Breakfast with Mom," I said. "I'll be back by 10. Dad glanced at the driveway, at Mom's car, at me. His jaw tightened. "No," he said. "Not today." And then he stepped forward, like he might reach for my bag. I didn't move. My heart did. It slammed so hard I tasted metal. "I'm going," I said. He took a breath that looked like a decision forming. And then someone, moved behind him. "Daddy," Sophie said in a small voice. "Are we not doing the pictures?" I looked at her. She looked at me, lower lip already trembling. My dad looked between us like there was a right answer on the floor, if only he could find it. And that's when my phone buzzed, loud in the quiet, with a new message from an unknown number. "Hi, I'm Kendra, the photographer. Can we talk about a change Jessica requested?" I felt the world tilt. Because what change could possibly require the photographer to text me directly at 7:31 in the morning? I stepped back from the doorway like I'd been pulled on a string. "1 second, I said, and ducked into the little front room with the cardboard boxes that never got unpacked after the wedding. The light was gray and soft, dust motes floating around like eavesdropping. I opened the text. "Kendra, Jessica asked me to do individual mom and kids shots without you and to focus the group shots toward her side. She also asked if I could lightly slim and smooth you in editing and place you on the end so you can be cropped if needed. I'm not comfortable with that without your consent. Are you okay with this?" I stared at the words until they doubled. Slim and smooth. Crop if needed. How do you even answer that without your hands shaking? Me. Thank you for telling me. I'm not okay with that. Kendra, understood. Do you still want to proceed with the shoot? I'm a big believer in boundaries. I can enforce yours. My reflection in the dark window looked like a ghost in a white dress I hadn't put on yet. In the driveway, Mom was watching, her hands on the steering wheel, trying to read the house through the windshield. Inside, I could feel Dad's anger like static. Me, yes. But I need to set terms. Can you start with me plus my dad? Then take any other combos they want. I might leave before a full group. Kendra, you're the client too. I'll back you up. I slipped the phone into my pocket and went back to the doorway. Dad was still there, watching me like I was a moving puzzle. "I'm getting pancakes with Mom," I said, as calmly as I could. "I'll be at Meadow Park at 10 for the photos. I've already coordinated with the photographer." He blinked. "Coordinated? She's starting with me and you?" I said. "Then you can do all the ones you want." Jessica appeared over his shoulder like a second shadow. "That isn't what we planned," she said. "I know," I said. "But it's happening." Dad's mouth compressed into that thin line it does when a meeting goes sideways. "You don't make the plans," he said. "You are a minor in my house." Mom honked, which is so unlike her that all of us jumped. "I'll be back," I said, and stepped past him before my courage could think twice. He grabbed my forearm, not hard, but with the weight of 10 years. I froze. Sophie made a small sound, like a mouse. "Let go," I said. My voice didn't shake, and that felt like a victory. There are a few moments where you can watch someone decide what kind of parent they are. He let go. "Be back by 9:50, he said through his teeth. I got in Mom's car and shut the doors solidly, like sealing something. We drove away without looking back, both of us breathing hard like we'd run a race. At the diner, the smell of syrup and coffee felt like compassion. Mom ordered pancakes with blueberries, extra butter, like she was trying to convince the day to be sweet. We didn't say anything for a minute. Then she slid her phone across the table so I could see a text thread with Dad that was green bubble/blue bubble chaos. He had sent paragraphs. She had sent a single line. "She is allowed to say no." "Thank you," I said. She squeezed lemon into her water. "He's scared," she said quietly. "He thinks if he doesn't force this family into a shape quickly, it won't hold." "Maybe it won't," I said. "Maybe that's okay." She smiled, pain and pride all mixed up. "Maybe it is." We ate. We didn't talk too much. That's one of the best things about Mom. She doesn't fill silence with advice like spackle. She lets the space breathe. At 9:40, she drove me to the park. Meadow Park isn't really a meadow, unless you consider 2 acres of grass and a pond with a sullen goose a meadow. The photographer had set up near a tree with peeling bark. There were props, an old-looking stool, a quilt, a bunch of neutral blankets like Instagram had come to life. Kendra was about 30, hair in a low bun, camera hanging from her neck like it belonged there. When she saw me, she lifted her hand in a little wave. Her smile was real. I liked her immediately. "Hi," she said, coming closer. "You must be my name. I'm Kendra." Up close, she had laugh lines and a little scar on her chin. "Just so you know, you're not an afterthought today. I'll follow your lead." Something in me unclenched so fast I almost swayed. "Thanks." Mom stood a few feet back, like she was pretending to check something on her phone. Kendra glanced at her and then at me. "Do you want me to tell them I asked you here early to test light? Makes it look like I'm the bossy one." I smiled. "That would be amazing." At 9:53, Dad's SUV pulled up and disgorged my other life. Jessica led the pack in her cream dress. Her hair curled exactly, her smile fletched. The kids trailed behind, Connor with his shirt half untucked already, Lila scrolling, Sophie clutching Fox's threadbare ear. "Hi," Jessica called, bright as a bell. "We're here. Sorry we're a minute late. Traffic." Kendra was professionalism wrapped in an art student. "No problem," she said. I pulled my name, aside for some lighting tests. "If we can start with a quick father-daughter set, we'll be ahead of schedule." Jessica's smile slid an inch, barely. Dad looked at me, unreadable. "Fine," he said. "Let's do it." We stood under the tree. Kendra's voice turned soft and instructive. "Okay, Dad. Hand in your pocket. Turn your shoulders a little." My name, angle toward him, chin down a touch. "Perfect. Pretend you like each other." I huffed a tiny laugh. Dad's mouth did something that could have been a smile if you were generous. Kendra clicked and clicked. I could feel Jessica watching, her gaze like a hand on the back of my neck. The kids sat on the quilt. Sophie waved at me, small and fierce. I relaxed half an inch. "Great," Kendra said. "Let's do walking. Talk about pancakes." "We had pancakes," I said, because I'm a gremlin sometimes. Dad's jaw flexed. "We did not." Kendra clicked. "Love it," she murmured like drama was light. After 10 minutes, she let us go. "Okay," she said, clapping her hands softly. "Let's do Mom and kids. Then Dad with kids. Then the 2 of you. Then we'll see about a big group if everyone's comfortable." Jessica's happy expression returned to factory settings. "Perfect," she said, sweeping Sophie and Connor into position. "Lila, put your phone away, sweetheart." Lila sighed and tucked it into the waistband of her dress like a sullen magician. As Kendra posed them, I stood by Mom's car, pretending to check my nails. Mom had stayed, but at a distance, like a bail bondsman. She mouthed, "You okay?" I nodded. As Jessica leaned down to fix Sophie's hem, her dress shifted, and I saw the edge of a note card with handwriting peeking from her clutch. It flashed the way something does when your brain thinks it's important. I looked away. It wasn't my business. Then I looked back because I am a raccoon for shiny secrets. Kendra switched to Dad and the kids next. Connor made his ghoul face and got a stern, "Connor, please," from Jessica. Dad's smile looked more like a smile now. Sophie grabbed his hand like a balloon string. My throat prickled again. Then Kendra called Jessica and Dad together for a couple shots. She kept it quick, like she could sense our collective tolerance meter. Finally, Kendra turned to me. "Do you feel okay to attempt a full group? We can keep it loose and casual." Jessica's eyes were diamonds. Dad's jaw recalculated. The kids looked at me like a referee. I nodded, because saying no in that moment felt like announcing I didn't believe in the sun. "One," I said. "We can do one." "Great," Kendra said. "Let's make it cuddly. Everyone pile." We arranged ourselves. Jessica tried to put me on the end. Kendra, smiling, said, "Actually, let's mix. My name, can I put you next to Sophie? And Lila, snug in here." She put Jessica on the end instead without making it a thing. Jessica's smile did not change. Her knuckles did. "Okay," Kendra said. "On 3, everyone look at the person to your left and make the face you'd make if they just told you a secret." I turned to Sophie, who whispered, "I like your shoes." I made a shocked face. Kendra clicked like a metronome. It was almost fun. I felt my mouth move toward a real smile without permission. "One more," Kendra said. "This time, everyone close your eyes, take a breath, open on 3. 1, 2, 3. We opened. The camera clicked. And that's when I felt a hand sneak onto my shoulder and press, not hard, but claiming. Jessica, like she was saying mine, mine, mine. Something hot and irrational rose in me, the way it does when someone sits in your chair and calls it theirs. I shifted a fraction of an inch. Her fingers tightened by an equal fraction. Kendra lowered her camera. "Okay," she said brightly. "We got it. Let's take a quick break." As everyone dispersed toward the water fountain, my phone buzzed. Unknown number again. I glanced at it, expecting Kendra sending sneak peeks like photographers sometimes do. It wasn't Kendra. Unknown. "Hi. You don't know me. I'm Aaron. I'm Jessica's brother. Can we talk, privately?" I looked up. A man in a wrinkled button-down stood by a maple, watching us with the wary body language of someone who should be somewhere else. He lifted his hand half an inch in a knot wave. I looked at Jessica, who was fussing with Sophie's hair. I looked at Dad, who was laughing with Connor in a way that made my stomach ache with an old, good feeling. I texted back, "Why? Aaron, because you should know why this matters to her. To all of us. I'm not on her side. I'm not on yours. I'm on the side of not lying." My fingers felt cold around my phone. Because I had no plan for a strange uncle's confession in a park, in a white dress, with a goose side eyeing us like it knew all our business. "My name?" Kendra said, stepping close. "You good?" I nodded automatically. Then I shook my head. "I think someone's about to tell me something I can't unhear." Kendra glanced at Aaron and then back at me. "Do you want me to run interference?" I looked at Mom across the parking lot. She raised her eyebrows, reading me like a long book she's almost finished. I texted Aaron, 2 minutes. By the tree. I started walking. Behind me, someone said my name in a way that sounded like a warning. It was Dad. I stopped. Not because I had to, but because I knew the sound of that voice, measured, low, about to make a rule. Dad's hand hovered like he wasn't sure if he had the right to touch my elbow. That hesitation did something in me I couldn't name. "Where are you going?" he asked, softer than at the front door, but with the same need to control the shape of the day. "To talk to Aaron," I said. I saw the surprise flicker across his face before he could catch it. He texted me. "About what?" Dad asked, as if I'd reply with a PowerPoint. "I don't know," I said. "He said I should know why this matters." Dad's eyes moved past me to where Aaron stood like a misplaced chess piece. Something old passed between them. Not friendly. "This isn't the time," Dad said. "It's exactly the time," I said, and I didn't recognize my own voice. Calm. Clear. If this is so important we all have to pose like a catalog, then it's important enough to tell the truth. He pressed his lips together, the tell I used to watch during baseball games when the ump made a call he hated. He considered telling me no. He didn't. 2 minutes, he said, and looked as if he'd swallowed something sharp. I went to the tree. The bark peeled under my fingertips like sunburn. Aaron stood with his hands in his pockets, the picture of a man who had tried with life and gotten a mixed review. Up close, he had the same eyes as Jessica, but a different weather, like whatever storm hit their family had left him wet. "I'm not good at this," he said, blowing out a breath that smelled faintly like mint and nerves. So I'm just going to say it. Jessica's first husband left without a word, packed a bag while she was at a parent-teacher conference, and was in another state before she could get home. He sent one text that said he couldn't do the family thing. He made quotes in the air like they hurt him. That was 4 years ago. Since then, she's been trying to prove, to herself, to our mother, to the world, that she can build a family someone won't walk away from. He looked at me like he was checking if I understood the math problem. I did and I didn't. The numbers were there. The sum still felt wrong. So she wants the picture, I said slowly, because if it's on the wall, it means it's real. He nodded, eyes softening. It's not healthy, he said, surprising me. It's not fair to you. But that's the equation she's trapped in. He rubbed the back of his neck. Our mother, Linda, makes it worse. Everything is presentation. The calendar, the matching sweaters, the captions. She thinks appearances will force feelings to comply. Jessica learned that trick, and she uses it when she's scared. My chest felt wide and aching, like I'd run too fast. I thought of Jessica's fingers tightening on my shoulder. I thought of the note to the photographer. Center me. Crop if needed. It still doesn't make it okay, I said, because I needed that sentence like a railing. No, he said simply. It explains. It doesn't excuse. We stood there, side by side, not looking at each other. He picked a piece of peeling bark and rolled it between his fingers. I also know your dad, he said. He wants to fix perceptions with results. He thinks if the picture exists, the fight disappears. It's business logic applied to people. It doesn't work. A goose barked from the pond like it was making a point. Somewhere behind us, Kendra was telling Connor to stop making ghoul faces. The ordinary noises of a forced memory day. So what do? I asked finally. I wasn't asking him to make the choice. I just wanted another angle, a different camera lens. He smiled without teeth. You do what you already did. You show up for the parts you can. You say no to the parts you can't. And you stop letting them pretend you're a problem to crop out. He started to walk away. Then he turned back like he'd remembered dessert. And if anyone gives you trouble, tell Linda that Aaron says to put the calendar in the donation bin. He grinned, quick and crooked. That should buy you 5 minutes of silence. I laughed, unexpected and sharp. Thank you, I said, and meant it. When I turned, Dad was watching, arms crossed, face guarded. He didn't ask what Aaron had said. That felt like a small mercy. Instead, he said, we're losing light. You said 2 minutes, I said. That was 2. He looked at me then, really looked, like a father trying to find his daughter behind a shape he didn't recognize. Are you staying? He asked. For one more set, I said. Then I'm done. I'd felt the boundary click into place while I was laughing about donating the calendar. It felt durable. Okay, he said, and for the first time that week, the words sounded like agreement and not a surrender. We walked back. Jessica's smile was lacquered on, but her eyes were scanning, calculating, afraid. Sophie ran to me and wrapped around my leg in a way that made Jessica's mouth tighten. Lila watched, arms folded, unreadable. Kendra clapped softly again. Last one, she announced. We're going candid. No posing. Everyone tell my name, something they like about her. I blinked. What? Kendra winked like she had a trick up her sleeve. Trust me. Jessica's smile twitched. Is that necessary? She asked lightly. Kendra lowered her camera, very polite. I find it helps complicated groups loosen up. We can skip it if anyone's uncomfortable. She looked at me like the question was mine to answer. I swallowed. The idea made me itchy and a tiny bit curious. I'm okay with it, I said, and immediately regretted it when Jessica's eyes flicked to my hair like she was selecting a compliment. We sat on the quilt, the 7 of us in a shape that would look tender from space. Kendra moved around like a dancer, camera clicking. Go for it, she said. You first, Sophie. Sophie didn't hesitate. I like that my name shares her markers, she said, very seriously. And that she taught me the trick where you breathe in your belly when you're nervous. Everyone looked at me. I looked at the grass. Thanks, Soph, I said, throat thick. Connor, Kendra said, and he shrugged, then looked at me sideways. I like that you don't freak out when I make faces, he said. Most people try to make me stop right away. You laugh before you tell me to knock it off. I smiled. You have range, I said. It's impressive. Kendra kept clicking. Lila shifted, hair shining. I like your music taste, she said, surprising me so much I almost made a Connor face. Your playlist makes chores less boring. I looked at her. She looked at me. Something almost like a truce lay between us, like an egg that might hatch. David, Kendra said, using my dad's name like she was aware of all the histories in it. Dad took a breath. I like that you know when you're uncomfortable, he said slowly, like the words were heavy. And that you say it. I didn't at your age. I still don't, half the time. Something shifted in my chest. A chair scraping back from a table. Thanks, I said, because what else do you say when your father gives you a sentence like that? Kendra's camera was a heartbeat. She turned, very gently, to Jessica. Jessica. Jessica's smile stayed perfect. I like that you're tall, she said after a tiny, disastrous pause. You photograph well. The air around us went weird. Connor flopped back on the quilt like a dying fish. Lila's mouth twitched. Sophie, bless her, patted my knee like she had just seen someone drop a glass. Kendra lifted her camera and then lowered it very deliberately. Okay, she said. We've got what we need. She looked at me. You're free to go whenever you want. I stood. The permission hit me like clean water. I'm done, I said. Jessica's eyes flashed panic. But we need one more with my mother. She's almost here. I know, I said gently. I hope it's great. You can stay for 5 more minutes, Dad said. Not a command, not quite a plea. Not today, I said, and felt my voice steady like a bridge I could actually walk on. I hugged Sophie, quick and warm. I high-fived Connor. I nodded at Lila. I looked at Dad and wanted to hug him too, but I wasn't ready, and I didn't want a picture of that moment anyway. I turned and almost walked straight into Linda. She stood there in a peach scarf and a smile made of rules. And you must be my name, she said, already angling her phone for a selfie. Come, let's get one of all my grandbabies. I'm actually headed out, I said. Nice to meet you. Her smile didn't falter, which was impressive or terrifying, I couldn't tell. We drove all the way. Mom, Jessica said sharply, and Linda's eyes cut to her daughter, surprised at the tone. Let her go. I exhaled. Kendra stepped in like a bouncer in ballet flats. Let's do Linda with the kids, she said cheerfully, steering the group like a parade marshal. I walked across the grass toward Mom's car. The goose watched me, unimpressed. The air smelled like cut lawn and something ending. At the curb, Mom opened the passenger door. You okay? She asked. Actually, I said, and felt tears prick for the first time all day. I think I am. We were almost in the car when Kendra jogged up, breathless, camera bouncing. She held out a small envelope, the kind you put prints in, even though everything's digital now. My name was written on it in neat handwriting. For you, she said. A sneak peek. And a note. I took it, confused. How did you? I printed in the car between sets, she said, grinning. Don't tell Linda. She'd want the proofs in her purse before you got home. She jogged back before I could say thank you. In the car, I slid the photo out with careful fingers. It was the walking shot of me and Dad, the one where we were mid-argue about pancakes, both half smiling like we'd remembered for a second that we used to be good at that. We looked not happy exactly. True, like a thing you don't have to crop. Behind the photo, there was a folded note. You were brave today. Don't let anyone call it selfish. K. I stared at it until my eyes blurred. Mom started the car. Pancakes round 2? She asked. Please, I said, laughing wetly. We pulled away. In the rearview mirror, I saw the group cluster around Linda like planets arranging themselves. Jessica was looking at me, one hand shading her eyes. I couldn't read her face from that distance. My phone buzzed again. A new message from Lila. Lila, that last picture probably looked good. You didn't look tired. Lila, if you want the playlist back, I borrowed it from your Spotify. I smiled. Me, keep it. Add songs you like. The 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Then, K. That should have been the ending. It felt like one. But then, as we turned on a maple, my phone buzzed with a name I did not expect to see on my screen. It was Dad. Dad, come home at 6. We need to talk. Alone. Alone. Not with Jessica. Not at dinner. Alone. My stomach dipped and then steadied. Mom glanced at me. I nodded. It's okay, I said. I'll go. At 5:58, I stood on the porch with my envelope and my courage. The scent of eucalyptus drifted out like a warning sign. I opened the door and stepped into the hall. Dad was waiting at the kitchen table with a stack of papers I recognized from the family counseling brochure Jessica had left in a pile last month. We need to make a plan, he said. About more than photographs. He flipped the top page, and I saw it wasn't just counseling forms. It was something else. Something with my name and a line for a signature. Your stepmother and I discussed this, he said, carefully. But I want to know what you think. I leaned in and saw the header. It was a name change form. To add Jessica's last name to mine. My hands went cold, and he said, very softly, "Would you ever consider it?" I sat down slowly, like the chair might collapse if I moved too fast. The papers lay between us, crisp and official-looking, my name typed in black at the top. My last name, my mom's last name, stood there like it was on trial. "Why is this here?" I asked, my voice tight. Dad folded his hands, the way he does when he's trying to sound reasonable but already knows his decision. "Jessica and I thought, maybe it would help. With Unity. With how things look. With you feeling part of the family." Unity. How things look. He kept using words like we were in a company rebrand. I stared at him, at the man who used to braid my hair crooked and call it his masterpiece. "You want me to change my name?" I said flat. "I'm asking if you'd consider it," he corrected, but his tone said this is the right answer. "It wouldn't replace your mother's name. We'd just add. Hyphenate. Blend. So you're not left out." Left out. Like being myself was a mistake. "What about Mom?" I asked. My chest burned just saying it. His mouth tightened. "This isn't about your mother. This is about you being part of this home." "That is about Mom," I snapped. "That's literally her name." He sighed like I was being dramatic again. "She'll understand eventually. It's just a name. Families share names. That's normal." I shoved the paper back across the table. "No." The word came out sharper than I meant, but it hung there. He didn't flinch. He just leaned back and rubbed his jaw. "You're reacting emotionally. That's fine. But think about the future. College applications. Weddings. People won't question why your name doesn't match your siblings. This is long-term." I laughed, bitter, sudden. "They're not my siblings." That landed like a slap. His eyes hardened. "Don't say that." "It's true," I shot back. "They're your stepkids. I didn't get a vote. You don't get to rewrite who I am because it's easier for you." We stared at each other, the silence so heavy I could hear the clock ticking in the living room. Finally he said, very softly, "You're making this harder than it needs to be." I stood up. My legs were trembling, but I made them move. "You're the one making it impossible." His voice followed me down the hall. "You'll regret alienating people who love you." I didn't answer. I went to my room, shut the door, and locked it. My phone buzzed almost instantly. A text from Mom. "Mom, did he bring up the name?" My throat tightened. "Me, how did you know?" "Mom, because that's why I divorced him." I stared at the words until they blurred. And then, as if the universe needed me off balance, another message came in. From Lila. "Lila, Mom's crying. She says you don't want to be part of us." I dropped the phone onto the bed like it was hot. Because for the first time, I wasn't sure this was just about photos anymore. This was about erasing me. I didn't pick up my phone again for an hour. I just lay there staring at the ceiling, the glow-in-the-dark stars dimmer now because I never charged them with the lamp anymore. My chest felt like a balloon pulled too tight. Mom's text kept echoing in my head. That's why I divorced him. I hadn't asked for details in years. Divorce was this silent scar we tiptoed around. But now the scar felt alive, raw. If the name thing had been one of the battles that ended them, then here we were, replaying history like a bad sequel. Finally, I picked my phone back up. 2 unread messages blinked. One from Lila, one from Sophie. "Lila, she won't stop crying. She said you don't want her as a mom." "Sophie, are you mad at Mommy?" That one hurt more than anything Dad had said. I sat up, pressed the phone to my forehead, tried not to cry. I typed to Sophie first. "Me, I'm not mad at you. Or Mommy. I just feel different. That's all." No response. Just 3 little dots that appeared, vanished, appeared again. Then, "Sophie, Daddy is yelling." I froze. I slipped out of bed, opened my door an inch. The house was too quiet, the kind of quiet that follows a storm. I crept down the hall until I could see the kitchen. Jessica sat at the table, her face blotchy, her hands gripping a tissue like it was the only thing holding her together. Dad was pacing. His voice was low but sharp. "She's 17. She doesn't get to dictate what family looks like." "She hates me," Jessica whispered. "She doesn't hate you," Dad said. "She's stubborn. She gets that from her mother." Jessica let out a shaky laugh that didn't sound real. "She won't even stand in a picture with us." "Now the name. How do you expect me to feel?" Dad didn't answer. He just rubbed his face with both hands. That's when I noticed Lila sitting in the corner, knees pulled up to her chest, scrolling her phone, but not really. Her eyes flicked to me, and then away like she hadn't seen me. I backed into my room before they caught me. My pulse was hammering. I texted Mom. Me. He asked me to change my name. He said I'll regret not doing it. Jessica is crying. Sophie says Dad is yelling. Her reply came fast. Mom, pack a bag. I'm coming. Me. He won't let me. Mom, try. I'll be outside. I grabbed my duffel from the closet and shoved clothes in, my hands shaking so badly I dropped a pair of jeans twice. I added the envelope Kendra had given me, tucked it between shirts like a secret. I opened my window to check the driveway, and froze. Mom's car was already there, headlights off, parked at the curb like a getaway driver. I zipped the bag and slung it over my shoulder. But when I cracked my door, Sophie was standing there barefoot, clutching her fox, eyes wide. Are you leaving? She whispered. I swallowed hard. Just for a little bit. Her lip wobbled. Can I come? My heart dropped. Soft. Behind her, a floorboard creaked. It was Dad. Going somewhere, he asked. His voice wasn't loud. That almost made it worse. The bag suddenly weighed 100 pounds on my shoulder. I couldn't answer. Not yet. Because Sophie was still in the doorway, and Dad was behind her, and Mom's car was waiting in the dark. And I knew that no matter what I said next, something in this house was about to break. Dad's eyes dropped to the bag slung over my shoulder. His jaw tightened. He didn't shout, didn't lunge, just stood there, quiet, which was worse. Going somewhere, he repeated. Sophie's little fingers twisted in the fox's fur. She looked up at me like the answer mattered more than anything. I forced my voice to stay steady. I'm staying with Mom for a few days. Dad's face didn't move, but the silence behind his eyes got heavier. Without asking me. I'm asking now, I said. I need space. You're 17, he said. You don't make those choices. Yes, I do. I said louder this time. It's my name. My life. You don't get to erase me because it's convenient. That hit. I could see it. His nostrils flared. His shoulders squared like he was bracing for impact. Jessica appeared in the hall behind him, clutching a tissue, her mascara streaked. You don't have to go, she said, her voice shaking. We can work this out. Please don't leave me like. She cut herself off, but I knew she'd been about to say like the last one did. I'm not him, I said softer. I'm not leaving you. I just can't stay right now. Sophie's lip trembled. But we're supposed to be a family. That nearly broke me. I crouched down so we were eye to eye. You are a family, I whispered. But I don't have to be in every picture to care about you. She hugged me, fox squished between us. I held her tight, memorizing the smell of her shampoo, because I didn't know when I'd be allowed near her again. When I stood up, Dad blocked the hallway. His voice was low, firm. If you walk out that door, my name, things will change. Don't think you can just come back when you feel like it. Mom's headlights flashed once outside, a signal. My heart pounded. I could feel the envelope in my bag, Kendra's photo pressing against my clothes like proof that this moment was real. I looked Dad in the eyes. Things already changed. And I stepped forward. For a second, I thought he'd grab me. His hand twitched, but then Jessica touched his arm, murmured something I couldn't hear. He let his hand fall. I slipped past, down the hall, through the living room that still smelled like eucalyptus, and out the front door. The cold air hit me like freedom. Mom's car door flew open. I threw my bag in the back and slid into the passenger seat. She didn't say a word, just drove. Through the rearview mirror, I saw the house shrinking behind us, a yellow square of light in the dark. Sophie's silhouette stood in the doorway, fox dangling from her hand. I pressed my forehead against the window and felt tears burn. Because even though I'd chosen to leave, it didn't feel like winning. It felt like something had cracked wide open, and I wasn't sure it could ever be put back together. Mom didn't ask questions until we were halfway down the highway. Her hands were white-knuckled on the wheel. What did he say? I swallowed. He tried to make me change my name. She exhaled like she'd been holding that breath for years. That's exactly the fight we had. At her house, everything smelled like cinnamon instead of eucalyptus. My old blanket was folded on the bed. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. But my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Missed calls from Dad. A flood of texts from Jessica. The last one read, "You broke Sophie's heart tonight. I hope you're proud." I dropped the phone face down. For the first time, I wondered if coming here meant more than a few nights away. Maybe it meant choosing sides. And I wasn't sure I could live with what that choice would cost. It was barely noon the next day when the doorbell rang. Mom froze, spatula in her hand. "Stay here," she whispered, but I was already halfway down the hall. Through the glass, I saw Dad on the porch. No Jessica, no kids. Just him, looking heavier than yesterday, holding his coffee like armor. Mom opened the door only a crack. "This isn't your house," she said. "I'm not here to fight," he said quietly. His eyes flicked past her, found me. "I just want to talk to my daughter." I stepped forward. Mom's hand brushed my arm like don't. But I opened the door anyway. Dad's voice was rough. "I don't want to lose you over a picture." Something in me cracked, but before I could answer, my phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a text from Lila. "You need to come back." Something happened. My stomach dropped at Lila's text. Something happened. I stepped back from the doorway, already typing. "Me, what do you mean?" The reply came fast. "Sophie ran away. She left a note saying she was going to find you." The world tilted. My heart pounded so loud I barely heard Dad curse under his breath. Mom grabbed her keys, her face pale. "Where would she go?" "She knows the way here," I whispered. "She's been to Mom's house before." Dad looked wrecked, all the authority stripped away. "We have to find her." We piled into separate cars, splitting the streets, calling her name. Every corner felt like it might hold her small figure clutching that fox. Guilt gnawed at me. Had I done this by leaving? Finally, near the park where the photos were taken, I saw her. Sitting on the quilt we'd left behind, Fox in her lap, waiting. I ran to her, breathless. "Sophie." She looked up, tears streaking her cheeks. "You weren't in the family picture. So I made my own." She pointed to a crayon drawing beside her. Me, her, and Fox. Just us. Something inside me broke open. I hugged her tight, the paper crumpling between us. Dad arrived minutes later, his face a mix of relief and shame. He didn't lecture, didn't scold. He just sank to his knees beside us. That night, back at Mom's, I taped Sophie's drawing to my wall. It wasn't perfect. The lines were messy, the colors wrong. But it was ours. And for the first time, I realized family isn't something you pose for. It's something you choose, even when it doesn't fit into a frame.